Hey JR, how are you? Is everyone? So good to see everyone. I forgot one thing, goodness sakes. Trying to get set up on, and I don't know why, but Josh Who TV says I'm offline, but I'm looking at myself live. Go figure. It's one of those craziest things. It all the time tells me that. Hey, Abby. Hey, Helen, how are you? So, how is everybody's Friday the 13th? We are going to start off in headlines. Now, I wanted to let you guys know that this very first article, good to see you, Helen. Good to see you, girl. Always good to see you. Um, Make sure it's turned down, please. Anyway, so this one article, I don't know why, but it doesn't even exist anymore. I got it 14 hours ago because it gives me the time that I got it. And anyway, you can't find it again. So go figure. Hey Shannon, how are you? So good to see you. Hi, is that Jolene? Hi Jolene. From Texas. How are you? Hello, Infidel. How are you? Hey Joe. And Dana Marlar. Blessings. Good to see every one of you. Hello, sweet Jenna. How are you? Trying to get me a quick drink. Okay, so those that have been here before, I can't share the articles because my system doesn't allow me to share the articles, and because of everything going on with YouTube, I've kind of switched up systems. I'm going live on my phone, and I use my Streamlabs for Josh Who TV. Because you have to have Streamlabs to live stream on Josh Who. And so I go live on Josh Who TV, and I'm also live here on YouTube. And I do have a Wixit site, which is my webpage that has all of these stories that I'm going to go through. So if you want to read them as I go through them, you can check them out in the description box. The only thing is this one article, whenever I went to go find it, and I even went to just Fox itself, it's not even there anymore. There's an updated version, but yeah, that's apparently there was a cyber attack on their government, and I will get to that story. I wanted to read this news about Trump's congratulatories to the UK. Johnson after his historic win, and I'm going to hit that, and then we'll hit the New Orleans thing. Okay, Pootie. It just says that the government was hit with a cyber attack. You're headed there to home. Well, safe travels, Pootie, and we'll be praying for traveling mercies. Hey, Ann, how are you, hon? Yep, they have been hacking. You were right. You've called it, Ann. That's for sure. Okay, so according to Fox News, Trump at originally 22 hours ago, Trump congratulated the UK Johnsons after his historic win. President Trump took to Twitter on Friday to congratulate UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson after Johnson and his Conservative Party won easily in the country's general election, which has seen a clear mandate to deliver on Brexit. Johnson's Conservative Party was on track early Friday to win an overwhelmingly parliamentary majority in Britain's general election, as Labour Party strongholds across the country swung dramatically to the Tories, and immediately led the left-wing Labour leader, Jeremy Corbyn, to announce his intention to step down. Congratulations to Boris Johnson on his great win. Britain and the United States will now be free to strike a massive new trade deal after Brexit, Trump said. This deal has the potential to be far bigger and more lucrative than any deal that could be made with the EU. Celebrate Boris. Anyway, as you know, if you don't know, Johnson's Conservative Party would win 368 seats of the 650 seats, and the Labour Party just got 191 seats that would give the Tories a majority of 86. And the night when the UK broadcaster updated their forecast to suggest that they only was to get 76. And so this was like, this one broke out, and this story broke out immediately after the election took place, after they said that he had won. So it's like the oldest of all the stories that I have. Let's see. Cable. And this here article from Zero Hedge says that cable explodes higher as first poll shows conservatives blow out biggest majority since Thatcher. It says this was updated at 5 p.m. The first exit polls are in, and they look and by the looks of it, the conservatives will walk away with a sizable majority with 368 of the Commons' 650 seats. So there hadn't been any change. They said with a predicted majority of 86 seats, this would be the biggest majority for the Tories since the days of Margaret Thatcher. And I say kudos. I say they need to stop dragging their feet and get on with this, and they need to do their exit. I mean, you know. So that is what they ended up with, was 368. Let's see. Of course, Varney from Boris Johnson win. It said from Fox News, they say that it should send AOC, Warren, and Sanders a message. But will it send them the message? Will they get this? Because, of course, this is over in the UK. So, you know, I hope they are paying attention, because I feel like this should send a loud message everywhere. Hi, Skywatcher Fugler. It says the Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, dealt a crushing defeat to socialists, and his victory in Britain's general election could have implications for the 2020 presidential election in the U.S., Fox Business host Stuart Varney said Friday. It was a crushing defeat for the socialists both over there and over here. It's a shot in the arm for the conservative movement worldwide, Varney told Fox and Friends. The collectives were thoroughly beaten. They were routed. Their message in America for AOC, Senator Warren, and Bernie Sanders. Varney believes President Trump will have a similarly large victory in 2020 if the Democrats continue to move forward with their socialism. Johnson vowed on Friday morning to get Brexit done by January 31st, 2020, with no ifs, no buts, no maybes, following his Conservative Party landslide victory in the country's general election. And that came from Fox. And of course, now this story is in the Wixit site, as well as this. The last two, just that one wasn't. And why, I don't know. It was just a congratulatory. Anyway, and again from English Alervia, it says Britain will leave the EU on January 31st. No ifs, no buts. UK's Johnson. And so he is definitely making a statement that no matter what, it's going to be done on January 31st, and I'm going to hold him to it now. So I'm going to mark this on the calendar. We're going to get ready, and we're going to do a countdown, because I am happy for these people, and I think that it should be done. They should get on and move on. It's been going on. All these votes and all this stuff just to linger it out. It's just really, comment was erased. I didn't erase it, sweetheart. And I don't think anybody else would, Joe. What was your, Google could have done it, or YouTube, but I didn't erase it. I assure you, I'm all about free speech. I even, I don't use foul language, but I don't delete it because that's freedom of speech, in my opinion. I'm just saying, it's kind of crazy. Um, and let's see. There was one more, I think. And this is the one that I like the most about all of the UK stuff. The lefts are no different, whether they're the lefts in the United States or the lefts in the UK. Thank you, Anne. Can you see my troll shirt that I made? It says Troll Hunter. Yeah. Thank you. It says, not my prime minister. Radical left marches against the democracy in Britain. It's crazy. The left loons are no different over there than they are over here. Apparently, the British people have ignored the anguish shrieks from the Extinction Rebellion protesters. Stand up to the racism, rabble, and other mirrored constituents of the British far left about how people will die unless Jeremy Corbyn's vision of society is imposed on Great Britain. Instead, the Tories have carried the biggest majority in decades. Every single strategic decision by Johnson and the Dominic Cummings, including the ruled unconstitutional decision to suspend or prorogue the Parliament, had been vindicated, and Corbyn has already announced his plans to quit, joining the predecessors Ed Miliband on the scapehead heap of the British political history. Yes, the people have spoken, and the result was resounding rejection of the Corbyn's left-wing populist agenda. Though they wield a loud microphone on social media, the far left doesn't have the support of the majority of the people, or even a majority of the working class the young democratic socialists claim to represent. Sadly, one of the traits of the modern-day left is is that they were terribly sore losers. And you think the left sore losers? And instead of wishing Johnson luck and acknowledging and accepting their mistakes were made on their end, the radical left is encouraging everyone angry with the election results to join them in the street for a protest of racist Johnson and the democratic values themselves. And of course, the under-democratic stand-up for racism rabble are now planning on marching against the election results. Where have we seen this before, guys? Oh my goodness sakes. Could that be right here in the great country of the United States of America? Give me a break. These people need to get over it. And will they do the same thing to poor Boris Johnson? Will they go and try to impeach him? Come up with a bunch of malarkey? The new word going around, malarkey. Will they come up with that? I mean, give me a break, guys. It's insane. It truly is insane. Sometimes my nerves get so rattled. But the left needs to give it up. We don't protest when they're in the lead. Give us a break. But yet here they are inciting violence yet again. This time not in this country, but in the left, in the UK. But it's crazy, guys, crazy stuff. And just a little bit while we're on this election stuff, I did do a story yesterday that highlighted that Israel was going to go into a third election. There's an article from the Haaretz that says the hurdles facing Israel's parties ahead of the third election in March 2020. Liquid's campaign chief says only one leader can push the right wing bloc higher, while the left-wing parties just want to make it past the electoral threshold. With the dissolving of the Knesset for the third time within a year, officials at Benny Gantz Cole Lavin party are now more optimistic than ever. Gantz ratings are solid. The fear is that one or both parties to the left won't pass the 3.25% electoral threshold in the March 2nd vote. Gantz image hasn't eroded despite Lukett's negative campaigning. He's improving in opinion polls, and his centrist party remains the largest party in the Kensett. We're beginning this election campaign from a considerably better place than the previous campaigns, a party official said. Cole Lavin fears a lower turnout in March, but believes that the Luke and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, now indicted for bribery, fraud, and breach of trust, will have an even harder time bringing people to the polls. We found that our voters are more motivated to go out and vote, the official said, and then referred to the 120-seat Kensett. Those who felt relief from Netanyahu failed to put together 61 supporters will go on to the polls on Election Day. He said that Netanyahu will presumably have a lame duck image and the election campaign at the leadership wise. But, you know, I don't know if all that mess over there is going to hurt Netanyahu. Netanyahu has so much of a following, but we'll see if that actually does hurt Netanyahu in this third. But all these voting things, people are going to get tired of it, though. You know, I mean, it's kind of crazy, guys. If you ask me. And then now we're going to get to. Let me find that article, guys. Okay, so now we're gonna talk a little bit about all these cyber attacks. Now, this isn't the first cyber attack, guys. This one over here in New Orleans. I mean, I want to say it was. I'm pretty sure it was Maryland that had the longest attack, or had the longest effect by a cyber attack not too long ago. But anyway, so from Fox Business, New Orleans government hit with a cyber attack. Says the city of New Orleans computer systems were hit with a cyber attack on Friday. Police, firefighters, and other personnel in the Big Easy were told to power off all computers and shut down cell phones because of the intrusion, according to WWL-TV, a New Orleans television station. New Orleans Communication Director Bo Tidwell said it occurred about 11 a.m. Local time. And I think that this is just kind of ironic how soon after the situation in Pensacola happened, that they're telling everyone they have to power down their cell phones and computers. I mean, to offset this cyber attack, you know? Yeah, you have to worry about a hacker. That's it. It says the city of New Orleans is under a cyber attack. Please power off your computers and unplug them immediately. Await further instructions. An internal text message from the New Orleans Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness said, according to WWL-TV. Computer system of the city's department and emergency medical services were affected by the hack, though the 911 emergency system was not, Tidwell said, according to the WWL-TV. The full extent of the attack wasn't yet known, he said. The city's official website wasn't working as of 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Louisiana was targeted by the hackers last month in an attack that damaged 10% of the state's government servers. Though no data was lost, the state's Deputy Chief Information Officer, Neil Underwood, said the Office of Motor Vehicles experienced the most significant effects and closed branch locations for a week to fix its computer networks. So now if you live in the New Orleans area, be aware they have closed down all DMVs for a week, I guess now, to fix this situation. And that's scary to know that they're hacking, you know, the vehicle license bureaus and getting all of your information, guys. Really scary. I can assure you that none of the actual data in Enterprise was inappropriately assessed. Yeah, they're going to tell you that because they don't want everyone coming unhinged. Underwood told the state's joint House and Senate Budget Committee. Pensacola, Florida, located about 200 miles east of New Orleans, also experienced a cyber attack on its computer system this week. Pensacola Mayor Grover Robinson said almost all communication systems, including phone lines and email in the town's city's hall, went down Monday due to the attack. The press secretary of New Orleans, Mayor LaToya Cantrell, did not immediately return a call for comment. That's crazy, guys. You know, all of this, and it seems like it's been on a uptick ever since all this stuff with all these naval bases. This is all perplexed. Yep. Yeah, they can't assure us. I mean, they can say that that they didn't get it, but I mean, how can they claim a breach if they didn't get something? You know, are they going to say, oh, they just broke the firewall and that's it? You know, they didn't get nothing. They didn't see nothing. They lie. They don't want to cause a panic and get everyone in an uproar, is what that all boils down to. I mean, on a serious, I mean, that's this crazy stuff, guys. Now, I have an article from the Times of Israel that says, Reform Jewish movement voters to support reparations for African Americans. The Reform movement, the country's largest Jewish denomination, declared its support for reparations for African Americans and its biennial conference. The resolution, which was approved Friday by a voice vote of 5,000 persons gathering of the Union for Reform Judaism, calls for a federal commission to study and develop proposals for reparations to redress the historic and continuing effects of slavery and subsequent systematic racial, society, and economic discrimination against Black Americans. It said that reparations can take the form of anything from an expression of remorse to education to monetary compensation. Reform leaders painted the resolution as the next step in the movement's historical support for civil rights. The movement passed its first resolution in support of civil rights in 1950 and passed 4 more. 2 came in the past 5 years, addressing reforms to the way law enforcement treats African Americans and racial inequities within the reform movement. Combating hate is the most urgent call for our time, Rabbi Rick Jacobs, president of the Union of Reform Judaism, said in a keynote address Thursday night. And I'm not going to read anymore, but I want to touch on this just a little bit. Until we stop making everything be about black and white, red, yellow, or brown, and we just drop all of this racial crap, we're not going to have peace. They don't want us to have peace. This is nothing more than to cause more racial division. I saw a horrible video of a little boy on a school bus on Twitter. It's going around with the little boy got attacked by 5 people of color, and I saw it first on Facebook, I think, and there was some comments made, and I started to react to it, but the Lord stopped me, and I'm going to tell you why. Because we have to have unity. We cannot divide anymore. And the more we fuel this and make it about color, and yes, it's a travesty that this young man got beat up, but it's even more of a travesty that we continue to acknowledge this, and put fuel on the fire for all this.
The travesty is nobody is getting these people and throwing their butts in jail. That's a travesty.
And that is the travesty. And
because all them 5 people have gotten away with, I guarantee you nothing's going to ever happen to them, even though they can find out who they are off of the video, but the police won't do it.
Well, everyone's upset because they won't label it as a hate crime. I think anytime there's
5 on 1 of a different color is a hate crime. Anything over one on one is a hate crime towards somebody.
And I believe that, and it wouldn't have mattered if the tables were turned. I would still be just as irate. But I think that that people have to get past. You have to have laws, and people have to stop labeling it as a racially motivated for it to be a hate crime. I mean, that I believe it was a hate crime. Yes, I believe it was a hate crime. But we have to somehow heal this situation, guys. And I just don't know what the answer is except for prayer. And I think that that was a horrible situation, and things like this is just going to add fuel to the fire. And then we have this here article, guys. Let's see. From Zero Hedge, that says that there was a student that was expelled by law school after posting "It's okay to be white" flyers. Now, remember, we broke this story. I mean, it it happened a while back when this happened. But it says an Oklahoma City University School of Law student was expelled after posting "It's okay to be white" flyers on campus. The Oklahoma reported that the student was expelled because he was on suspicion and violated the terms of his suspicion when on the night of October 31st, he came on campus and posted the flyers on the door and the exterior of the law school building. The December 10th article does not state why the student was already on suspension. The OCU police director, Bill City, cited federal privacy as the reason why he's not releasing the name of the student. The newspaper reported, adding, police didn't find evidence of a crime, that the student was found to be non-threatening to campus safety, and that he isn't facing a charge of trespassing. The incident stems from the last smattering of "It's okay to be white" posters hung on campuses. Recently, Inside Higher Ed reported November 5th that several schools nationwide were hit with posters around Halloween time, and said the same thing occurred in the fall of 2018 too. The signs first appeared in the fall of 2017 and coordinated 4chan campaign, whose users spelled out their game plan and on the anonymous intent form board, instructing people to post the signs on campus to prompt a completely berserk response. And again, here we have somebody being expelled from college because he exercised his freedom of right, and he said it's okay to be white. And what is wrong with that statement?
His freedom of speech was shut down.
His freedom of
Black.
speech, right, has been impaired upon, and and now he's suspended, probably going to be kicked out of law school because of freedom of speech. Where is the logic in that, guys?
It ain't the logic. Where's the law?
Exactly, and where is the law? That there is just more proof. The law that there to me is just more law, more proof that there is no Constitution anymore. The attack on our rights has just and they're going to continue, but yet we've got all of this stuff continuing to go on. And there's got to be a stopping point, though, guys. We cannot continue to fuel. I mean, yeah, it is okay to be white. It's okay to be whatever color, but we cannot continue to fuel the fire. We've got to come together and unite somehow. I don't know how, guys, but it's ridiculous. It truly is ridiculous. It's sad. Anyway, Denmark is going, according to Sputnik News, Denmark is sending a Frigate helicopter to the Strait of Hormuz. The Strait of Hormuz is a narrow waterway of a strategic importance. It links the Gulf states with the Indian Ocean and serves as a thoroughway for a third of the world's liquefied natural gas and almost a quarter of total global oil exports. The Danish government will send a frigate, a helicopter, and crew of 155 people to the Strait of Hormuz for 4 months in the autumn of 2020. Foreign Minister Jeb Koff, a Defense Minister Trine Bramans, both of the Social Democratic Party, said in a statement after meeting with the Foreign Policy Committee. This can help ensure that our ships can sail freely without running into any safety risk, Foreign Minister Jeb Koff told Danish radio. And again, so there definitely is a lot of stuff still transpiring, but they're trying to, step up the game some here to ensure, some kind of safety passage through the Hormuz. There's a little bit more to this article, but that is pretty much what it's about, and the defense minister says that he stresses that Denmark has the capable Navy that takes responsibility and stands up for the principles it believes in. And of course, we know about the earlier attacks. But now we have Denmark actually getting involved in trying to have some kind of peace over there. Now, this here can be worrisome. I don't know if South Korea is trying to send a message. I don't know if South Korea is trying to send a message or not, but South Korea says, South Korea releases imaged preemptive strike video on North Korea. South Korea's Air Force has released a proactive video this week showing a similitude of preemptive strikes against North Korean weapon system at a moment of soaring tensions over a series of missile tests. There are also now concerns that Pyongyang could be preparing for a launch an intercontinental ballistic missile after the warning the U.S. a surprise Christmas gift awaits. The just released South Korea video includes narration declaring the glory of victory is promised under any circumstances in the event of preemptive strikes against the enemy. The video sequence produced by South Korean Armed Forces features a scenario where the North is preparing for an ICBM launch, during which the multiple of South newly acquired F-35A stealth jets are scrambled. The precision strikes are then carried out against North Korea's Hwasong-14, a North Korean ICBM first tested in 2017. The United Press International, UPI, describes the video further as follows. The video from Seoul's military shows fictitious footage of the Global Hawk, a remotely piloted surveillance aircraft, detecting activity in North Korea, where the regiment is seen setting up an ICBM on a mobile launch pad. South Korean television network JTPC reported Thursday. The video also appeared to be a preview and showcasing of a long-awaited operational deployment of U.S. supplied F-35 stealth fighters, as well as advanced intelligence gathering, the RQ-4 Global Hawk drones. The North Korea has bristled at the addition of advanced stealth American aircraft after a deal for limited transfer for small batches of the aircraft was first struck in 2014, according to South Korea's Yonhap news agency. South Korea will mark the operational deployment of the F-35 stealth fighters in a ceremony to be held behind closed doors next week, the Air Force said Friday, amid heightened tensions with North Korea. South Korea so far brought in 13 F-35s, beginning with 2 in late March, under a plan to deploy 40th fifth-generation jets through 2021. North Korea has strongly bristled at the introduction of state-of-the-art fighters as sign of hostility. Meanwhile, after testing fire 2 short-range missiles on Thanksgiving Day, which Japan allegedly actually may have been a banned ICBM, is now familiar pattern of doing threatening things on the American holidays. Pyongyang declared at the start of December that it's planning a Christmas gift for the United States, but without specifying what the potential mincing surprise gift could be. Many fear that this is the latest threat, could be a sign of North Korea is preparing to resume long-distance missile tests, also amid a looming end of a year deadline set by Pyongyang on nuclear negotiations with Trump. So, again, I don't believe we're worried about North Korea, but I think that tensions this late in the year could still be, a warning of something to come, and we must, take care of and prepare. So I don't blame South Korea, but I think that this is kind of like they're drawing a line without drawing a line. Okay. Now, the Sputnik News has photos, and I'm going to try and share the photos with you guys. But according to Sputnik News, they have photos that have been released inside the U.S. Bagram Air Base, passengers terminal attacked by the Taliban. The U.S. Air Force has published photos of the inside of the passenger terminal attacked by the Taliban suicide bombing on Wednesday. And remember, we talked about that base being under attack, and it wasn't actually the base, but it was outside of the base. But still, it says this is inside the base. It says the attacks killed 2 Afghan civilians and injured at least 70 people. Meanwhile, unconfirmed video of U.S. mutations striking an unfinished hospital held by the Taliban have emerged on social media. And and here is the first set of pictures, guys. Let me see if I can get this up here to where you guys can see it. Okay. It doesn't look like it was too bad, but just enough damage to be a headache, you know? Let's see. There is a video here, and I'm going to see if I can play it. Sometimes I can play these videos and sometimes I can't, but we'll try, guys.
Daddy needs a new pair of shoes! Oh my goodness, that shit got fucked up! Oh, again! Yeah, baby! I think we got another one. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yo, that shit is close. Yo, every time they get done, my phone's like, iPhone storage full. That guy's like, motherfucker!
Is dinner ready?
Wow, guys. There was some language in that I was not expecting. I guess I should have viewed the video before I played it. Usually the videos don't play, but imagine that one would play. Anyway, but for somebody that's watching bombs come down, how can you have an attitude? I wouldn't be laughing. I guess that's some people laugh whenever they're, I would have been crying. I would have been scared. I don't think I would have been laughing. But anyway, so some crazy stuff, but there's those pictures and that video of the attack that happened outside of the base. And as you can see, it wasn't in the base, it was on the other side, but still that video, those troops, they were like just, I don't know, kind of weird. Yeah, that's what I said too. That just was like, they thought it was kind of funny. I don't find humor in that, but I would have been scared, Anne. I mean, seriously. Pretty weird, to say the least. Let's see. Okay. All right. So then I have this article about the Earth enters an unknown as a magnetic North Pole continues push towards Russia crosses the Greenwich meridian. And this is from Sputnik News, guys. It said earlier this year, the U.S. National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration and the British Geological Survey were forced to update the world's magnetic model a year ahead of schedule due to the speed with which the magnetic North Pole is shifting out of the Canadian Arctic and towards Russia's Siberia. The BGS and the U.S. National Centers for Environmental Information has released a new update to the World Magnetic Model this week, confirming that the magnetic North Pole, whose coordinates are crucial for navigation system used by governments, militaries, and a slew of civilian application, is continuing its push toward Siberia. The WMM 2020 forecasts that the northern magnetic pole will continue drifting toward Russia, although at a slowly decreasing speed down to about 40 kilometers per year, compared to the average speed of 55 kilometers over the past 20 years, the U.S. agency said in a press statement. The data confirmed that this year the magnetic pole, North Pole, passed to within 390 kilometers of the geographic North Pole and crossed the Greenwich Prime Meridian. Compliers also confirmed about the Earth's magnetic field is continuing to weaken at a rate of about 5% every 100 years. The World Magnetic Model is used by everything from smartphone compasses, apps, maps, and the GPS services to telecommunications, transmission systems, and navigation tools for various agencies, including the Federal Aviation Administration, NASA, the U.S. Defense Department, and NATO. Scientists still don't know exactly what's driving the pole's accelerated drift. The magnetic north, the point of the planet's surface toward which your conventional compass points, is created by the churning of molten metal in the Earth's core, which creates the huge electrical currents to produce the magnetic field. Commenting on the freshly released magnetic North Pole data, Dr. Sarian Began, a geophysicist and a geomagnetic specialist from the British Geological Survey Edinburgh office, told FT that although the movement of the North Pole has been much faster since the 1990s than at any time for at least 4 centuries, scientists really don't know much about the changes in the core that's driving it. With the pole passing the Greenwich Meridian and continuing its race east, humanity is entering the unknown, scientifically speaking, since from the time records of the magnetic North Pole's position have been kept starting in the 16th century, the pole and had drifted around the Canadian Arctic. It says Dr. Phil Leavenmore of Leeds University Institute of Geophysics recently postulated that a jet stream of liquid iron flowing in the planet's core could help explain the shift in the position of the magnetic North Pole, but suggested tracking the flows of this liquid iron could be difficult because it lies beneath 3,000 kilometers of rock. Scientists have previously expressed concerns about the fluctuations in the magnetic North Pole and its possible impact on the magnetic field protecting Earth. Without the field, Earth would be left vulnerable to solar flares, which could cause damage to everything from spacecraft to power grids, even in the magnetic field intact. The planet remains vulnerable. In 2011, the U.S. National Academy of Science calculated that the repeat of a solar storm like the one which hit in 1859 could cause as much as $2 trillion in initial damage and take a decade to repair. Furthermore, a weakened magnetic field may lead to a potentially catalytic process scientists called a geomagnetic reversal, in which the Earth's north and south poles effectively switch places. The last such flip is estimated to have been taking place around 800,000 years ago, and some scientists believe that another may do soon, even though such an event could take centuries to complete. So, I I'm not even going to comment on that, but we're going to go on. But there definitely is a lot of stuff, and I think that a lot of people don't know the significance of the North and the South Pole. But hopefully with more awareness and more people putting articles out there that people will, hey Duke, how are you, honey? We'll see. They did. Yeah, they sure did, Shannon. They did indeed. Let's see. And speaking of speaking of our celestial orbits and things of that nature. This here article came from Gloria. Gloria shared this article with me, and this comes from Forbes, and it says, our only known asteroid shower peaks this weekend under a near full moon. Here's how to watch. This year, the Geminid meteor shower, easily this year's finest, will probably pass unnoticed in the northern hemisphere. It's too cold. No one goes outside stargazing and fewer still want to spend a significant amount of time outside, least of all lying down on a blanket. Perhaps that's just all well in 2019, because this week's full moon in the sky shortly after the dark and shining all night thereafter, the chances of seeing shooting stars from the Gemins is therefore less than normal, though it should be possible to see some of the 150 per hour some are predicting. The key nights to go outside for a peek are Friday and Saturday, long after sunset, as close to midnight as you can imagine. In fact, with your back to the bright moon, you might catch a relatively slow-moving red, green, or even blue-tinged shooting star. They can appear anywhere in the sky, but they'll seem to come from behind you, specifically from the winter constellation of Gemini. It's the frequency, but also the orange, yellow, blue, green, and red colors of the Geminids that make the meteor interesting, because it's not a meteor shower at all. It's an asteroid shower. While most meteor showers are caused by comets shedding great stream of dust and debris in the Earth's orbital path, with these particular striking Earth's atmosphere to causing shooting stars, the Geminids likely come from a small solar system body called 3200 Fathom. Discovered in 1983, it named after the Phaethon, the son of Helios, Greek god of the sun, and for good reason. In its near-Earth asteroid and strange one at its 3.6 mile wide, it orbits the sun every 1.4 years and gets to within just 6 million miles of Earth. It got super close in December 2018 when it was tracked using radar. The encounter was the closest object that will come to Earth until 2093. There were other reasons why Phaethon the interest astronomers. Its near-Earth object is so easy to study. It's got an elongated orbit, and it gets really close to the sun, just 1/6 of the sun's Earth distance. Consequently, it heats up to about 1025 Ks, or 750 Celsius, or 1390 Fahrenheit every 18 months. It gets brighter than expected when it gets closer to the sun. Q, Density and Space Mission from the National Astronomical Observatory of Japan, scheduled to launch in 2022 during a flyby of the Phaethon at a distance of 500 kilometers or less. It will take photos to help astronomers better characterize its surface geology. The Geminids rarely get the attention they deserve in the Northern Hemisphere, so wrap up, get outside, and look up. You just might see specks of the Phantom 3200 shooting across the sky. So, I don't know how cold it is where you are. If you've got a clear sky, I would definitely say that this is, something pretty cool, and I would go out there and check it out. Hey, MG, how are you, honey? Now, this article, Gloria also shared with me, and I thought I read this article, but it was, I don't know who it was from, but when I was going back to find it again, I found it in the Examiner, and I'm not sure where, or it wasn't in my Wixit site, so it is in the Wixit site now, and I'll share it again. So for those that remember this, and it might have been on Marf, and I'm thinking I did it, but Marf did it. But anyway, I know I heard this somewhere, and I thought I read it, and I thought that I shared it, but I'm not sure. But anyway, New Zealand orders nearly 1,300 square feet of skin for the volcano burn victims. New Zealand has ordered nearly 1,300 square feet of skin from the United States to treat burn victims from a recent volcanic eruption. A volcano on White Island erupted suddenly on Monday, catching New Zealand officials and dozens of tourists by surprise. Hospitals across the country are at a max capacity, treating 29 burn victims rescued from the disaster. New Zealand has ordered 1,290 square feet of skin to treat patients, some of whom suffered burns over 90% of their bodies, according to Fox News. 26 of the patients suffered burns over at least 30% of their body. New Zealand officials report a death toll of emergency crews are still working to find 8 missing people who are being presumed dead until found. But we did a story yesterday, and they went and were able to retrieve those bodies, 6 of them anyway. But that was just pretty gruesome. I wanted to read that. She did share it with me, and I did not find it in there, so I wanted to make sure that I did share it just in case I didn't. Yeah, exactly. And you have to know that there are signs and that they've ignored those signs. So it's crazy, guys. And then the big news for Trump, and again, I don't want to get too worked up over this. You know, I get kind of excited when it comes to all of this stuff, guys. But here from RT, Trump impeachment articles approved by House Judiciary Committee in a party line vote. The House Judiciary Committee has approved impeachment charges against President Donald Trump with the vote strictly along party lines. The process is expected to advance to the full House vote next week. After debating articles of impeachment in a heated session on Thursday, the committee voted 23-17 to approve both articles of House Resolution 755 on Friday, charging the president with abuse of power and obstruction of Congress. This is a solemn and sad day, Committee Chairman Jerry Nadler, Democratic, on Friday declared. Together with the House Intelligence Chairman Adam Schiff from California, Nadler has been one of the leading figures in the battle to remove Trump from office. In Nadler's case, the effort began long before the current inquiry kicked off in September. Is the president proven conduct impeachable? Nadler asked rhetorically on Thursday. The answer is absolutely. President Trump responded to the vote with the derision, calling the impeachment drive against him a sham and a hoax. To use the power of impeachment is nonsense. It's an embarrassment to the country, he continued. The full House will debate the articles further on Wednesday, with a vote expected to split along party lines again and make Trump the third ever president to be impeached before Congress adjourns for the holidays. If the House votes to impeach, the Senate will take up the case in the new year. All Republican amendments were shot down in party line votes. During the deliberations, Representative Jim Jordan, Ohio, from a Republican, tried to strike down the abuse of power charge. Matt Gaetz, Republican, Florida, tried and failed to insert a reference to the former Vice President Joe Biden's son, Hunter, into the articles. 2 additional GOP amendments, one modifying the language of the articles, the other eliminating the obstruction of Congress charge entirely, were also rejected. Over the course of the debate, Republicans argued it was the Democrats, not the president, who obstructed justice by refusing the GOP minority its own set of hearings in which it could call its own witness. Democrats say they invited President Trump to the hearing which he could present his case, but the offer was turned down by the White House. The Democrat-controlled House launched the impeachment inquiry in late September after the White House whistleblower came forward with the allegations of corruption stemming from a July phone call between President Trump and his Ukrainian counterpart, Zelensky. The whistleblower complaint quickly seized upon the Democrats, charged that Trump tried to exploit the U.S. military aid in order to coerce Zelensky to open an investigation into Biden and to the Ukraine gas firm that hired his son. And again, if you cannot believe the person that received the call, that there was no quid pro quo, there was no pressure, then what's the point? Anyway, of course, that is the main news that everybody's been talking about here. And I do have an article from Hannity, from Fox News, that says it's a Hannity exclusive. McConnell says 0 chance Trump is removed. 1 or 2 Democrats could vote to acquit. Senator Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, Republican from Kentucky, told Fox News Thursday night that he will coordinate the defense of President Trump in any impeachment trial with the White House. lawyers and proclaimed that there was zero chance that the president would be removed from office. The case is so darn weak, coming over from the White House. We all know how it's going to end, McConnell said on Hannity. There is no chance the president is going to be removed from office. McConnell also said he hoped that none of the members of his caucus would vote to remove the president from office, adding, "It wouldn't surprise me if we got one or two Democrats to vote to acquit Trump of the charges of high crimes and misdemeanors." He explained that the articles of impeachment would be different from ordinary legislation that makes its way from the Senate to the House, and that we have no choice but to take it up. But we'll be working through this process, hopefully in a fairly short period of time, in a total coordination with the White House Counsel Office and the people who are representing the president all the way of the Senate. McConnell spoke of the House Judiciary Committee prepared to vote to send 2 articles of impeachment to the full House of Representatives, following a marathon hearing in which seemingly no topic, from Hunter Biden's rampant drug use to the Republican congressman's past drunken-driven arrest, was off limits. It remains unclear how long the markup would last, although Fox News is told it could go until well after midnight, which we know that it didn't last until well after midnight. They called it. They weren't taking the vote. They did it this morning. It's crazy stuff, guys. I mean, it's just absurd. Anyway, then we have, and again, I have mixed feelings. I say that the president, whatever the president wants is what he should go on. And hello, Grace. How are you, honey? I see Deb. Hi, Deb. How are you, darling? It's a distraction, but from what? Exactly, JR, exactly. There's so much going on, so it's kind of really hard to even say what the distraction is. Yeah, no, the full House hasn't voted. They will vote next week, Gloria. This was just the committee, the Judiciary Committee's vote. The Judiciary Committee voted. They got the articles of impeachment, so now they'll go forth and they will go before the full House. And that's going to be, I think, Wednesday is what I was told, Gloria. Rashid Tlaib deletes tweets blaming white supremacy for Jersey shooting. Representative Rashida Tlaib, Democrat from Michigan, received a flurry of attention on Thursday after she tweeted that white supremacy was behind the Jersey City shooting that left multiple people dead. "This is heartbreaking. White supremacy kills," Tlaib said in the since deleted messages that was linked to the tweet by progressive Jewish group, If Not Now, that memorized the victims of Tuesday's shooting at a kosher supermarket. According to the New York Times, one of the suspects had a connection to the Black Hebrew Israelites, many of whom described to an extreme the set of anti-Semitic beliefs. Those followers view themselves as true chosen people and believe that the Black, Hispanics, and Native Americans are the true descendants of the 12 tribes of Israel, said Oren Segal, director of the Anti-Defamation League Center of Extremism. New Jersey Attorney General Gubar Grohl said that Thursday that the assailants, David Anderson and Francine Graham, had expressed interest in the Black Hebrew Israelites, but added that investigators have not definitely established any formal links to that organization or to any other group. Many Twitters poke fun at Tlaib's era. And here is the message, even though it's been deleted. People, of course, screenshotted it and sent it back. Hopefully you guys can see this. And again, this article is in my Wixit site, so you guys can definitely see it, but just crazy that she would even make such a tweet. But again, trying to push out that racist, propaganda. Again, this is another tool that they're trying to use to divide the country, and don't buy into it, guys. I mean, it's sad. It's everywhere you go. Anyway, bad luck for her, I guess you could say. She needs to pay attention to the news. Hey, Gloria, how are you, honey? Anyway, so Fox News says that some moderate Democrats expect it to defect when full House votes on the impeachment reports. House leaders reportedly expect to lose as many as half a dozen votes from moderate Democrats representing swing districts or those that backed President Trump in 2016 when the full House votes on impeachment next week. Two Democrats, Representative Colin Peterson of Minnesota and Jeff Van Drew of New Jersey, opposed the impeachment rules package in September, but multiple officials told the Washington Post on condition of anonymity that they expect more. Despite the anticipated defections, Democrats should have more than enough votes when the impeachment comes to the full House vote following this week's Judiciary Committee hearings, including the independent vote from former Republican Representative Justin Hamish of Michigan. Democrats can afford to lose 17 votes from their side of the aisle. No Republicans are expected to vote for impeachment. Van Drew has already said he plans to vote against impeachment. I don't see anything that are they're worthy of actually taking a president out of office, he said, according to the USA Today. I'm concerned about splitting our nation apart. And I agree with him. And he's a Democrat, guys. So go figure. So he's out there, Representative Elisa Slotkin, Democrat from Michigan, said she plans to take the weekend to think over her vote. I just need to take a breath. It's a serious decision for me, she said, according to Reuters. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said Thursday she won't pressure moderates to vote for impeachment. You'd think they're going to be pushing, they're going to be, oh, you need to do this. We got to take him out. There's no way we can win. That's what this is all about. I have no message to them. We are not whipping the legislation, nor would we ever with something like this, Pelosi told reporters, according to The Hill. They'll make their own decision. I don't say anything to them. Well, whatever. That's why we had basement hearings, right? And we were the only ones allowed to question them and then objected anytime anybody asked them anything. But I digress, guys. Democrats' 2 articles of impeachment against Trump are for abuse of power and obstructing Congress. And again, where's the high crimes and misdemeanors in that? It just kills me. But on the lines of talking about voting and everything, just to show you what the Democrats are stooping to, Kentucky's Bashir restores voting rights to over 100,000 convicted felons days after inauguration. Kentucky Governor Andy Bashir signed an executive order Thursday to restore voting rights to nearly 140,000 convicted felons, making good on an inaugural promise he made just days ago after being sworn in. The order applies to Kentuckians who have committed nonviolent offenses and have completed their sentences and does not include sex offenders, rapists, or murderers, Bashir, a Democrat, said to a group of voting rights supporters. My faith teaches me forgiveness, Bashir said. We all make mistakes. Bashir called it an injustice that former felons are unable to fully rejoin society by casting a vote on Election Day and were automatically denied regardless of circumstances of their offense or their good work since serving their sentences. The move reinstates an executive order implemented by Bashir's father's former governor, Steve Bashir, in 2015 that was reversed by Republican successor Matt Bevin, whom Andy Bashir defeated in the upset victory last month. Bevin conceded to Bashir in the most recent election, a week after he was called for a recanvass in the gubernatorial race that saw him trailing by about 5,000 votes. Kentucky was just 2 of the states of the lifetime disenfranchisement laws that barred convicted felons from voting regardless of the crime. Currently, Iowa is the only other state left with such laws. Bashir also voiced support for constitutional amendment that would automatically restore voting rights to nonviolent felons, which had been championed by Iowa's Republican Governor Kim Reynolds. The Democratic governor was joined by 2 former felons, Ren Young and Amanda Berlin, who both served time for drug possession charges nearly 2 decades ago and lost their rights to vote when they were 18 years old. Young who was convicted in 1998 and is now a salesman and a father of twin 21-month-old daughters, called the order an early Christmas gift from Bashir. Trust me, Young said, 21 years old without a voice is unimaginable. Believe me, I just appreciate the opportunity for a second chance. And I agree with second chances, but you still, yeah, you still have to have laws. And when you break the laws, if there's no consequences of your actions, what does that say, guys? It just says, okay, go out and break the law, and we're just going to make an allotment for you. There's no, I disagree with it only because we have to have a society of laws. I do believe everyone deserves a second chance, and I, applaud that Second Chance Act that President Trump has put into play to help give them every opportunity to be able to, get back into society. But again, I say if you're going to commit these crimes, you have to have some kind of consequences for them. And if there's no consequences, what's stopping you from doing all of this? And he is trying to get the votes. Exactly. And that's what this all boils down to, JR. Because they can't. They're trying to, offset Trump in any way that they can. And that's one of the biggest ways that they can right there. Yeah, we're not reading that. Let's see. Okay. And then this here article also was given to me by Gloria, which I think it just goes to show you that anybody that stands up against the system, they're going to go after. And this, of course, this wasn't an issue until this person was tied to Giuliani and all this and that. But Giuliani ally Parnas got $1 million from Russia, U.S. says. Well, according to a source that I watched or saw, they said that he didn't actually get $1 million, that it was just in it was just in Russia bank. And so because it's in the Russia bank, they're saying that that it's Russian money. But that's where he kept his money or something. But anyway, we're going to read this article. It says Rudy Giuliani's associate, Lev Parnas, got $1 million from an account in Russia in September, a month before he was charged with conspiracy to funnel foreign money into the U.S. political campaigns, according to the U.S. prosecutors, who asked a judge to jail him for understanding his income and assets. And according to what they say is that Russian bank is more secure than the Ukrainian banks over there, which makes sense. I mean, but of course they're going to say that, Russia gave him the money and make it bigger than what it is, I think. I don't know, what to think about it, but they say that the majority of that money appears to have been used on personal expenses and to purchase a home. Prosecutors said in a court filing Wednesday, Parnas failed to disclose the payment to the government, prosecutors said. The payment raises proactive new questions about the nature of work of Parnas and his associate Igor Fruman were doing and who they were doing it with and for. Much about what they did remains unclear. The pair was charged in part with working on behalf of one or more Ukrainian government officials to seek the removal of then the U.S. ambassador to Ukraine, Maria Yakovich. They have pleaded not guilty to all charges. Bloomberg and new organizations have also reported that Parnas was added to the legal team of Dmitry Firtash, a Ukrainian oligarch fighting extradition to the U.S. Giuliani and his lawyers didn't immediately respond to requests for comment. There was little detail or explanation about the source of the purpose of the payment to Parnas in the court filing. Prosecutors said the money was sent to an account in the name of Parnas's wife, Svelta Parnas. It appeared to be an attempt to ensure that any assets were held in Svelta's rather than Leviz's name, prosecutors claim. The payment came in the same month of Parnas's and Furman received the first of the two requests for documents from congressional committees investigating the Trump administration actions in Ukraine. The pair initially refused to comply with the request and were arrested days later on a jet bridge at Dulles International Airport near Washington, D.C., as they sought to board a plane with one-way tickets to Vienna. Parnas' lawyer has subsequently said his client is willing to comply with the congressional investigation. And again, there's a little more to this, but I think it's just a raw deal. I mean, again, anybody that's connected that is trying to help Trump, they're going to come after. Now, this here article comes from Zero Hedge, and it says that central banks are alarming moves towards social engineering. Recently, the central banks have found themselves grasping at straws when it comes to moving the economy forward. Signs have begun to appear on the horizon that in the future they will attempt to expand their power by increasing their role in social engineering. This is a term that refers to efforts and influence particular attitudes and social behaviors on a large scale. Its goal is to produce or change certain desired social characteristics in a population. In the past, this has been more of the role of the governments, with the consent of the people, often through laws and tax policies. In America, the Fed was initially given the mandate to create a stable monetary environment. Since that time, it has been expanded into what is known collectively as the dual mandate. Now, its two goals also include achieving maximum sustainable employment in conjunction with price stability. The Federal Reserve Federal Open Market Committee, which sets the U.S. monetary policy, has translated these mandates in rather a broad term. In the last few weeks, Christine Lagarde, the new head of the ECB, said something that shocked many people. She stated, "We should be happier to have a job than to have our savings protected." Why would you not want your savings protected? I think that this is in the spirit that monetary policy has been decided by my predecessors, and I think that they made it quite a beneficial choice. If this is true, we are in big trouble. It is a sign that something is terribly wrong. The ideal that you can have a job, but you can't save anything, places workers in a position of servitude where they are dependent on the total mercy of the economy and the government. The rocket science of central banking. For many decades, the entire financial system has been built on the premise that people have either to purchase big items or for their old age. It's a Lagarde suggesting that workers of those that have saved may soon be as a dependent on the government as those already wrapped in the safety of government social programs that provide them with shelter and food. This comes at a time when it is predicted that more robots and automation will soon move in, strips humans of their jobs with great sarcasm. One could opine that things would appear rather bleak without the generosity of central bankers. The fact is, much of the money that has been saved by workers has flowed into pension systems and paper promises, which the central banks flee compelled to support to keep the financial system afloat. Shortly after Lagarde's remark, Federal Chairman Jay Powell commented that the U.S. central banker sees sustained expansion ahead of the country's economy, with the full impact of recent interest rates cuts still to be felt. This follows a massive injection of liquidity to financial markets. On top of this, Japan has just laid out another massive stimulus package, the highlights of the failure of negative interest rates to move the country forward. This should make it clear that the extreme has become the new normal. Now, with the economy and governments totally dependent on freshly released goodies flowing from the central bank, it looks like they are ready to up their game and move more into a social engineering. This dovetails with the efforts of those endorsing a new world order to push forward with the Green New Deal as a way to take control of the future. A hint of their desire to move in the direction for the greater good came in Lagarde's much anticipated first appearance as president of the ECB before the European Parliament. Many of the questions of the Parliament hearing focused on climate change and an area where the central bank is under pressure to play a bigger role. Lagarde indicated the fight against climate change should be a central part of policy. Lagarde also said it was also worth discussing whether climate concerns should impact the ECB's QE's policy. This comes at a time when any media outlets are practically painting child eco-activist Greta Thunberg as an authority on climate change. This portrayal, rather than showing her as a simply passionate young person caught up in a frenzy, tends to cement her claims in the minds of those concerned about the environment. Time magazine has even named the 16-year-old girl climate alarmist Greta Thunberg as a Person of the Year because of the momentum behind the environmental concerns. As we see a rush to enact strict environmental regulations without considering how they often do more harm than good or miss the target for which they are intended. This intersects with globalists and those endorsing a new world order, pushing the Green Deal new agenda forward as a way to take control of the future. This extends into the dangerous area of central banks taking position that propels forward investments in what is claimed to be environmental friendly initiatives. Lagarde is out front with that as she goes about galvanizing her new position at the ECB, now with an alarming new United Nations report screaming that climate change is probably the biggest challenge of our time. She is something she can clone onto. Consider this as an effort for the central banks to regain their credibility and mitigate damage of their reputations for bailing out the very people that created the last economic crisis after exacerbating inequality that they are now introducing to the conversation, expanding and pursue new mandates. Lagarde is politically seasoned after her time as head of the IMF in an organization that few people know about and is highly overrated in its ability to solve problems. Anyway, in the end, it will result a slew of bridges to nowhere and failed bond googles that line the pockets of the same mega companies that have profited in the past. And again, Zero Hedge is, obviously warning us again of all the stuff that the bigger bankers are doing and everything else. Now, I've got 2 stories left, guys, and they're just, this one story, I say, what is happening to the fish in California? It says, this comes from Zero Hedge. It says, strange things are happening in the waters along the West Coast, and fish are starting to disappear. Something is causing the waters just off the West Coast to heat up dramatically. Fish are dying off in a staggering number. Birds that feed on those fish are also dying off rapidly, and scientists have discovered 15,000 holes in the ocean floor off the coast of California. Oh, and scientists don't know for certain why any of these things are happening. Unfortunately, the mainstream media is not emphasizing the crisis, and so most Americans don't even know what is going on. But the truth is that what we are facing is extremely serious. In fact, officials have taken the unprecedented step of shutting down the federal cod fishery in Alaska for the year because of the lack of fish. We are seeing things happen that we have never seen before, and this is definitely going to affect our food supply. So why are the fish dying? Well, nobody knows for sure, but some officials are blaming the marine heat wave that has been happening in the waters along the West Coast. The following comes from KING 5 News. A massive warmer than normal pool of water that's formed in the Pacific Ocean off of the Washington coast and up into the Gulf of Alaska may already be wreaking havoc with our weather. This is something that I haven't written about previously. Scientists aren't telling us that the temperature are as much as 6 degrees Fahrenheit above normal, and if such conditions persist, we could see millions upon millions of fish die. At this point, we are being told that this vast expanse of water is roughly 1,000 to 2,000 miles in size in the eastern Pacific Ocean. Hopefully this blob will go away soon, but that hasn't happened so far, and nobody really knows what is causing it. Meanwhile, fish are dying off, and it's absolutely a staggering rate. As I mentioned above, there are so few cod off the coast of Alaska right now that officials felt that it was necessary to shut down the federal cod fishery for the entire year. That's scary, guys. If they shut down the fishery, there will not be any cod because they won't be reproducing and things of that nature. In an unprecedented response to the historically low numbers of the Pacific cod, the federal cod fishery in the Gulf of Alaska is closing for the 2020 season. It's a decision that came as a little surprise, but it's the first time the fishery has closed due to the concerns of low stock. So you have low stock, so you're going to close down the fishery? That doesn't make sense, guys. What is really going on? It's all the heavy metals from the chemtrails killing everything. Yeah, and I would definitely agree with you, Zep. When I first heard about what, I was quite stunned. And that outlook for the future looks quite grim because officials are telling us that there are the next to no new eggs. A stock assessment this fall put the Gulf cod populations at a historic low, with the next to no new eggs, according to NOAA research biologist Steve Barbu, who authored the report. At their current numbers, cod are below the federal threshold that protects them as a food source for endangered stellar sea lions. Once below that line, the total allowable catch goes to zero. In the other words, the fishery shuts down. The birds that feed on those fish are also dying off in large numbers because of a severe lack of fish. They are literally dropping dead from starvation, and at this point, there isn't much that officials can do about it. The following comes from the big wobble. In November 2019, thousands of short-tailed shearwaters birds migrated from Alaska were washing up dead on Sydney's iconic beaches, and the bird deaths had nothing to do with the massive wildfires in the area. Thousands more short-tailed shearwaters were dying out at sea in what was confirmation of the incredible fish shortages in the Pacific Ocean. The corpse had been spotted at several shorelines, including Bondi, Manly, and Cronulla. The birds were migrating back to southern Australia to breed after spending the summer in Alaska, but according to experts, a higher number than usual are dying on the way due to the lack of food. The birds need to be a full strength to make a 14,000-kilometer trip over the Pacific, but the krill and other fish they feed on have apparently dwindled due to sea temperatures rising. Let us hope that the things will return to normal eventually, but there is no guarantee that is going to happen. Our planet is becoming increasingly unstable, and really weird things are starting to take place. Speaking of weird, scientists are telling us that they have found 15,000 holes in the ocean waters off the California coast. Those thousands of strange round holes scooped up out of the ocean floor have been uncovered along the coast of California. Some measure nearly 600 feet across, but scientists are unsure how they formed. As many as 15,000 holes have been found during an underwater survey by the Monterey Bay Aquarium Research Institute. I was quite alarmed when I read that, and even more alarming is the fact that scientists are telling us that the cause of all of these holes remain a mystery. The cause of the persistence of the pocket marks still remain a mystery, but we find no evidence that they were created from gas or fluid in the seafloor in the recent post. The micro-depression are recently formed erosional features. They are not incipient pock marks. Overall, a lot more work needs to be done to understand how all these features were formed. And these work is in progress. For a long time, I have been warning about what is happening to our planet. Volcanoes are going off like firecrackers all over the globe. And there was another major volcano eruption in New Zealand on Monday. And earthquake activity continues to rise to a very troubling levels. In fact, it was recently reported that there had been almost 60,000 earthquakes at least of a magnitude of 1.5 around the world over the last 12 months. 60,000 earthquakes, guys. That's a lot of earthquakes. Earthquake tracking website Earthquake Track has recorded an astounding 59,841 tremors around the globe in the last 365 days. On December 9th, in the last 30 days, a total of 4,172 tremors higher than the magnitude 1.5 were felt, and 895 hit in the last 7 days. So at 895 earthquakes in 7 days is very alarming, guys. The official story is that everything is just fine and our planet will start behaving normally again soon. But unofficially, a lot of scientists out there are deeply concerned about what we are witnessing. A great shaking has begun and nobody is quite sure what is going to happen next. And that is exactly it. A great shaking has occurred. And the whole time I was reading this, I kept hearing the Holy Spirit telling me that this is all biblical. You know, read your Bible. This is in the Bible. And it shouldn't be it should be alarming to those that don't know who Yeshua is. And again, you know, they can't, for those that don't believe in what they're doing to our skies, you know, I think you cannot, these people are ignorant, and they are going to continue to spray these things, and it's going to continue to kill the planet. But yet we're going to blame, you know, the humans and the things that we do. But they need to put the blame somewhere else. They need to own up to it. Anyway, now this one here kind of goes along with the story that I just read, but not, except for let's just get into it. This is from Sputnik News, and it says, California beach becomes flooded with thousands of penis fish. Don't laugh, guys. Recent storms swept away layers of sand, revealing thousands of creatures called fat innkeeper worms, also called penis fish, due to their distinct form and color. Following a series of winter storms in Northern California, a swarm of pink, throbbing, phallic creatures wound up pulsating along the beach north of San Francisco. Bay Nature reported these creatures are marine worms called fat innkeepers. Worms, and usually they burrow under the sand far beneath the feet of beachgoers. Oh my gosh, I don't ever want to go to the beach in California now because of this. This is just gross just thinking about it, guys, and they look gross. I'll show you the picture in a second. It says the giant waves during the storm stripped the beach naked of the layers of sand, leaving the so-called penis fish exposed. And I'll show you these pictures, and it is just disgusting. But what's even more disgusting is that the creatures date back 300 million years. These worms can live for up to 25 years and feed and swim using their spatula-shaped proboscis. It typically eats bacteria, plankton, and other small particles, which it collects using sticky mucus nets. They can also be eaten in South Korea. Do you hear that? They eat them in South Korea. It's a dish made of fat innkeeper worms. It's called gabelle. And in China, it can be served to tourists stir-fried as a local delicacy. That is disgusting. Disgusting. I'm not eating this. I'm going to show you guys these pictures, because they're quite rather just, they gross me out looking at it. Okay, so here's what's at the top of it. Let me see if I can get it to, no. I tried to expand this picture, but it wouldn't let me, guys. But you can see all of them on the it's just gross, guys. And here's somebody holding the lovely little creature in her hand. I had never in my life ever heard of these things. Just look so funky. But anyway, and I love to fish, but never in my entire life have I ever heard of the penis fish. Just saying. This one up there else. Well, but I'm gonna call it the fat innkeeper, okay, guys? Because that is what it sounds a lot better to me, guys. I mean, it just does. Just sorry. I just can't help it, but that just is just gross. Oh, Lordy. Um, anyway, so that is all of my news for today. All the headlines I have. There's other news, I'm sure, but that's all that I have, guys. That's okay. Like I said, I will pass on that one. Anyway, they said that they eat, Grace, they said they eat this in South Korea and they serve it as a delicacy in China. I cannot imagine that. I'm sorry. That's like squid. I will not eat squid. I fish with squid. I'm not eating squid. I have eaten it. It's just too tough. It's chewy. But yeah, no, I'm not eating that. But anyway, so we left this on a oh mercy, guys. We're gonna end this. This is turning into some mess here. Oh, y'all are killing me. You really are. I couldn't either. That is just gross, guys. That is just gross, gross, gross. You love squid? Oh, no, I don't like squid. Can't do squid. Too chewy for me, honey. Too chewy, chewy, chewy. Anyway, I hope to see everyone in Marf tonight. I know the show was getting good and he kept getting interrupted. I hope that we get to we don't have so many interruptions, so I'm going to be praying for that at Bible study. So I hope everyone will come and join me as I pray tonight to hopefully we'll get a better stream on Marf and of course for Bible study. But I will see everybody at 8 o'clock for Bible study, and I hope to see everybody in Marf tonight. Everyone have a blessed day, and we'll see you later. And remember again, 5 o'clock headlines. We'll see you tomorrow if I don't see you tonight in Marf. I'm not praying for the fish, I'm praying for Marf. CFP is live. Okay. All right. Everyone go check out Central Florida Prepper, guys. Kevin Fugel just said that they're live. All right. God bless everyone. We'll see you guys later. Bye.